I was dead set against this, Dan.
I did it while Dave was on vacation.
Dude, freaking Dan, man. And he used some of my agents to write the code, too. What a bastard. Hey, welcome to Velocity Lab. I'm Dave.
I'm Dan, and today we're going to talk about this feature we just built for Shipwright.
Yes, new feature.
One of our clients is, I guess, a bit tepid.
Yeah, a bit tepid on autonomous
coding. And so what we built is Shipwright Human-in-the-Loop. Dave, what do you think about Shipwright Human-in-the-Loop?
I was dead set against this, Dan.
I did it while Dave was on vacation.
Dude, freaking Dan, man. And he used some of my agents to write the code, too. What a bastard. No, so I was totally against it because, okay, first of all, the feature was built by autonomous coding, right? So Dan, through Slack, said, hey, let's do human in the loop, blah, blah, blah. And then a bunch of agents wrote code overnight, and all of a sudden it's there, right? So that's the real experience, right? That's how you do it. Like, you don't write code.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out, like, how do we move the needle with one of our clients who is really afraid of AI?
I think it's not afraid.
They're afraid of AI escaping their sandbox and sharing their secrets or whatever, right?
Yeah, basically they want to be in the terminal. We're trying to get developers to move away from it. Dan and I don't use the terminal that often. We do for planning, but that's it. It's debugging, but we're trying to get developers to move away from the terminal. Developers do not need to be like in a terminal watching what Claude is doing anymore, right? If you have a system. However, because developers are responsible for what that thing is doing, we get why they're a little bit nervous. So Dan did come up with the human in the loop, which is basically...
We have an always-on worker that's just pulling tasks, just like our autonomous agent does. But when it executes on a task, it opens up Claude Code with a prompt and starts executing, and you just press enter.
Yeah. So you
make sure that it's not doing anything bad, basically. Yeah. There is like that approved fatigue, but really I wrote it because our job as AI consultants or helping people automate their software building is to get people, move them towards autonomous coding. So before that wasn't it, right? Autonomous, like in January, our goal was not autonomous programming.
It was not autonomous
programming. Now it has to be.
It has to.
So how can I move the needle, not be blocked by their team not allowing us to create a managed agent for them in their in their own AWS cluster, Kubernetes cluster, right?
So it's a little bit different for Dan and I. We built Shipwright, which is an autonomous coding agent, which is like it runs in the cloud 24/7, runs in your infrastructure. Everyone developer gets their own agent, and then you communicate through Slack. You basically give it work. You plan with it. It creates a task list, like a Jira list or whatever, a Jira Epic, and then it just starts coding, right? But because we built it, we're like, why isn't everyone just doing this? Then we realized why. It's a huge quantum leap for them, right? So
yeah, I mean, so the reason we got here was because in the beginning of the year, we set goals. We want AI doing more stuff for us asynchronously.
Asynchronously, yes.
How can we get AI doing more stuff, more hands-off stuff for us?
Because we're a two-person company.
Yeah, and we saw that the model was capable of it, and we're like, we don't need to sit in front of this to watch it. How do we escape this? And so we basically forced ourselves to do it. Companies executives are trying to force people to do it.
Yeah.
But it's a process. It's a culture change. It's a culture shift.
It's a massive change.
I was sad to write human-in-the-loop version of Shipwright where you have to press enter. But at the same time, it's like, let's just introduce everybody to the concepts. Let's get it in front of them. And then as soon as they build trust in the system, they're going to want it.
Yeah.
They're going to want it in their Slack. They're going to want to talk to it through Slack. They'll still be opening up Claude in the terminal occasionally. Dave and I do that like all the time. Like daily. I'm opening up Claude at least in terminal once a day.
Yep.
Now with the human in the loop for this client, I'm doing it more. One of the interesting things was like actually watching Claude go through our pipeline.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, it's still doing that. I made a bunch of changes. So I've ripped at least 5 things out of our review things. Oh, we actually should not have the agent do it. We should just write this in code. Yeah. Or actually, we don't need to notify in Slack anymore because whatever, right?
Yeah. Here's just read what you talked about. So it's like the way it works is you plan with your agent. Then that creates a task list. Okay, here's the 10 things we need to code up, right? It writes all the code, it creates a pull request, it writes all the tests to make sure CI is correct. And then once it's done, it'll review it. If there's finds issues, it patches it. The funny part is Human-in-the-Loop was the first time I've never seen patch work. Because I've never run it locally.
Yeah.
We built it and deployed it to the cloud and I've never actually seen it do anything. I didn't know. I know what patch does, but I've never actually watched it.
Yeah. So what it does is so the harness, the way it works is it takes the oldest pull request or oldest task off the queue and starts working on it and says, what's the current state of this task? The harness does all this work, decides what thing to work on, passes a pull request for task or for patch. Then patch will look and see, hey, why am I supposed to patch this? And okay, did we get any review comments? Yes, no. All right, is the build passing? Yes, no. And then there's a third thing. I forget what it is. Oh, is the branch clean, mergeable? Do I need a rebase or merge, whatever, right? And so it identifies 3 different things, and then it works through each of them.
Yeah. So what Human-in-the-Loop is, instead of running Shipwright in autonomous in your own infrastructure and you interacting through Slack, you run it locally. You run task HITL. It spins up all the components it needs, including the web interface, the chat feature, which Dan does not like.
Chat is not on.
It spins up the local task queue. And once you have it configured, it automatically says, okay, what am I working on next? Do I need to review a pull request? Do I need to patch a pull request because there's comments saying, hey, you found some issues?
Yeah.
Or am I grabbing the next dev task? Once it's all done, it'll prompt you like, hey, can I have permission to do this, permission to do that? It lets you watch what it's doing. And then once it's done, you just escape out of there, and then the loop just picks up on the next thing. Again, do I need to review a pull request? Do I need to patch a pull request? Do I need to work on a dev
That
task?
part you don't see. You just see Claude launch the next thing.
But basically, so we realize
which is what our Shipwright loop does.
Yeah,
right?
It's exactly what Shipwright does.
Shipwright just checks, all right, what's the next thing? But it's all working behind the scenes. So
basically, the part of Human-in-the-Loop is just, it's a way for developers to gain confidence in the system.
And learn it,
and
understand it.
So get comfortable with it. And then,
one of the things, we tried to keep Shipwright as light as possible. But it's still a lot to onboard someone.
Yeah.
It's okay, here's the dev task, here's review, here's patching. You can think what it might do. When you're running it with Claude Code on your laptop, there's also just a little bit more to think about, right? Because if it's just in Slack, you can start talking to it. And then it'll do work in the background for you. So you don't really have to say, all right, you need to add these environment variables. So you can add this ad hoc planning session that will queue up tasks. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think Human-in-the-Loop, despite my earlier objections, now I'm going the opposite. I think this needs to be just, the first step is you can run Shipwright, add the individual things that Shipwright does, planning, patching, reviewing, dev tasks. You can run those as Claude Code plugins one at a time.
Sure. Yeah,
right? That's step one.
You can mentally decide, hey, what's the next thing in my queue? Run it. Yeah.
Or step 2 is you also run local Human-in-the-Loop, so you actually get to see what Shipwright would do. If you were going to run a task in the cloud, you actually get to see what it would be doing, get to experience it. And it also is it's going to prompt you hey, can I go fetch this website? Can I run this?
Depending on how you have Claude Code
Depending on
set,
how your sandbox stuff. But then step 3 is deploy to your cloud, and it's just autonomous. But so I think
you can press in, you approve things manually and be okay, if this were running in the cloud, it would just be doing all this automatically. Now, there's one of the reasons I think Human-in-the-Loop really works well on your laptop as well, because my laptop has way more permissions than any agent's going to have in the cloud, right?
Yeah.
If I give it to it, right? So it's really infrastructure. I'm not always logged in, so I can put Claude in auto mode sometimes. I will definitely log out of AWS if I'm putting Claude into auto mode.
Locally.
Yeah. But it's a safer way to run it on your laptop because there's so much stuff on your laptop that really wouldn't be in a managed agent environment at all, right?
Yeah, in some ways, if you deploy it to your cloud, first of all, it's your cloud, but second of all, you can control what it has access to. It can have access to nothing.
Yeah,
right?
your GitHub token only has access to 3 repos, but if I'm running on my laptop, my GitHub token is whatever I have access to. So not even AWS, but GitHub in general.
Well, not like that, but it has my Jira token, it has my Sentry token, it has my, who knows what else I have on my laptop. I have so many things set on my laptop. So and in some ways, you wouldn't want to run full-blown autonomous Shipwright locally. There's no way I'd want to do that because my laptop has access to too many things. But in deploying your own cloud, you control exactly what it has access to.
Yeah.
So I would not say run autonomously locally. Heck no. But
unless you're testing it out, you want to do some simple things. You can do task up or whatever.
But like you're saying, like I would like if my AWS CLI was authenticated, and I was going to run autonomous, I would unauthenticate that.
Yeah,
so it's like,
I log out of the AWS CLI.
I don't want. I'm hoping it would never do anything bad, but there's a million stories of it doing bad.
Yeah, even with my GitHub CLI has all the access. And that it's not quite infrastructure level stuff. I'm not deleting database. I can't see prod data. It's just code. But even that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah. So the headline is we have 3 ways of testing, of trying out Shipwright. One, Claude Code plugin. So you're doing each task individually one at a time. And then once that task completes, nothing happens unless you tell it to do something. The second one is Human-in-the-Loop, which will do either a dev task or review a PR, or it'll patch an issue found in that review. It'll do it automatically. Once you're done, you escape, boom, picks up the next task, it runs. And then you actually get to watch and see, prompt you on, okay, can I do this? Can I do that? And then the third way is deploy to your own infrastructure, let it run autonomously. And then just, the thing is like when you're running autonomously, you get to control everything about that environment because it's in your cloud. It's not going to have access to GitHub unless you specifically give it access to GitHub. It's not going to be able to talk to your Kubernetes cluster unless you say you're allowed to talk
by the way, if you don't give it access to GitHub, it can't do anything.
Unless you give it access to GitLab, Dan. Oh!
That'd be an interesting experiment, actually.
Yeah.
Because our skills are all using the GitHub CLI. But we could have a few versions of that.
By the way, if we did add GitLab, how would we do this? We would do it in Slack.
So
how would you do it? In Slack, you would have a planning session with your agent.
Oh, how would I do it?
Yeah, Dan would not use his laptop.
I was already getting technical. I'm thinking about things before
technical.
the agent.
Yeah.
Sorry. I should let the agent think. No,
Yeah, no.
I should not let the agent think that.
So here's the reality. Let's say we had a client say, hey, listen, we want to adapt Shipwright, but we use GitLab instead of GitHub. This is what Dan would do. Dan would, in Slack, he would have a planning session to talk about the requirements and how do we validate and all this stuff. Create a plan, create a PRD, and then the agent would take that PRD and create a task list. And then Dan would turn his computer off or turn his phone off and go boating. And then the day later, it's done. It's shipped, right? That's how easy it is, right?
Yeah.
And then your job is to review because like, it's not really working the way we want, or it's like this. Your job is just to review and make sure things like
it's half true, but yes. So I tend to have like kind of an architectural design in my head before I do a plan session. So I don't really actually leave all of it to Claude. Sometimes it's interesting to see what Claude does or says, and then I'll steer it. But yeah, I'm already thinking like, how would I do GitLab? Would I just clone the skills and have a different version of the skills? Probably not. Would we have like a MCP for create pull requests? I don't know. Probably not. We'll see.
Like a common SCM interface, and then you'd have like plugins, one for GitHub, one for...
I don't know.
We'll figure that out. Anyways.
First, we got to have a client that needs it. Or actually, if you want to put a pull request up, we'll take a look.
It's open source. You can go for it. By the way, if you guys want to adopt autonomous coding, we are the guys for that.
I agree.
Okay, bye.